welcome to video 1 of this video series called How to Understand Your Patterns. So I decided to create this video series basically as a way of helping you to understand what kinds of things are playing out in your life, because a lot of people I get into conversations with, when we're looking at making changes in our life, or aspects of our life, or even big transformations, the first step is always self-awareness, and it's really hard or even impossible to make changes in your life when you don't actually recognize what it is that's playing out. So when I was going through my journey and learning 100 things about myself, one of the steps that I found really helpful was coming across this model, and it's called the Enneagram. So the Enneagram is basically a model, and we've got lots of different models out there, but this particular model is based on 9 different ways of being. And the reason I like it is because it basically, for me, it hit home. It really made me understand and actually see what patterns I was playing out and what patterns I was running in my life. And once you see what's going on, then you can actually take steps to change. You can't change if you don't know what's there. So that's the purpose of this video series, and there's going to be 9 separate videos on each of the types in the Enneagram model. So today's video is going to be on type 1, and type 1 is the perfectionist. So the perfectionist is obviously self-explanatory. It's about perfection. It's almost like being driven by getting things right. So a perfectionist would be, motivated by doing the right thing, being the right thing, getting the details in the right way. You might recognize this in yourself. You are likely, if not to recognize it in yourself, to recognize it in somebody that you know. Sometimes we are full-on perfectionists, generally. Other times we are other types, and we have perfectionist as a pattern, and it kind of affects us in different ways. So a really great example of understanding the perfectionist is looking at Monica in Friends, the character Monica, because she's obviously driven by doing everything right, putting a load of pressure on herself, getting quite upset when things don't go the way she wants them to go, and constantly striving and having really high ideals. So with the perfectionist pattern, it's really important to recognise that if you have this pattern, and I definitely do, I definitely recognise this in myself, if you have this pattern, it's not about criticising yourself for it, but at the same time it's not about using that as the only way to live. So with all of these types, including the perfectionist type, it's got its really helpful sides and really unhelpful sides. And this isn't about making perfectionism a bad thing at all, because we all have those traits anyway. For example, if you were to have surgery on your heart, I'm damn sure you'd want a perfectionist to be carrying out the surgery. You'd want somebody that has that attention to detail, that really, has those high standards. You definitely, there are places for that in the world and in our life. For example, in my own life, I have these patterns of perfectionism. When I was a solicitor, a lawyer, that was really useful because I'd have such attention to detail. I'd spot the facts. I'd go through documents, with a fine tooth comb. I really liked that. For some people, that would be a horrible, boring thing, but I really enjoyed that. But on the other hand, my perfectionism led me to, striving so hard and so high to get it right all of the time, every single day. I would do things like not take a break, not drink water, not leave my computer for hours, not think about what I really need. So that's the downside of perfectionism. And it's always about the context in which you do it, like I said with the surgeon. But another side of that is, if I'm writing and I'm trying to create something, perfectionism is a killer. Perfectionism just kills creativity. So in that scenario, being a real perfectionist doesn't serve, because you have to be spontaneous in life sometimes. You have to go with the flow. You have to create things. And perfectionism in that context is a real killer. It's really difficult. So this isn't about, you know, right or wrong or good or bad. This is about recognizing a pattern, recognizing that, you know, there are different ways of being, and understanding that maybe you are running a perfectionist pattern, and maybe that's why, if you are, life sometimes feels exhausting, or life sometimes doesn't have enough spontaneity in it, or whatever is missing in your life. So this is just about recognize if you have these patterns, this pattern of perfectionism. It's also great to recognize it in other people, because especially people that are close to us, and sometimes people can really annoy us, and that's okay. But if we understand the pattern, it really, honestly, it really helps. It helps our patience. It helps us understand that individual, people we work with, people we're in relationships with, our friends, our family. So that's the perfectionist. So I'd like to, I'd like you to think, ask yourself, does this resonate with you? Maybe it completely doesn't, and that's fine. Maybe you totally relate to it. This is you all over. Or maybe you recognize that in certain parts of your life and certain scenarios, this does play out for you. So all I'm asking you to do is just recognize if this is something for you and notice it. You know, there's lots of things we can do about that, but it's just about noticing, and you can almost take a step back when you see it play out and say, oh, right, yeah, I'm doing that perfectionist pattern. So it's really interesting. You'll start to spot it a lot more in your life. So that's the perfectionist. There's a lot more I could say about it, but I'm just going to keep it light, keep it to an introduction for now. Maybe I'll do something in the future, but for now it's just an introduction to the perfectionist, and this is type 1 on the Enneagram as a model. So in the next video I am going to talk about type 2, which is the helper type, and I definitely know a lot of people that I end up in conversations with definitely play this one out. So stay tuned for that video. If you are interested in the rest of the series, there's going to be 9, possibly a 10th bonus video. I suggest you come over to my Facebook group, which I've just started. It's called the Passionate Life Revolution. If you're interested in going on, you know, a self-development journey and exploring a lot more about yourself, and, you know, creating this passion, clearing out all of this stuff that's limiting you, come on over to the group and join, because I'd love to see you over there. If you know, this is not your thing and you just want to watch the videos, why not check out my YouTube channel, subscribe to that, and then you'll obviously get all of the videos in the series and anything else that I do in the future. So leave me a comment if there's anything you want to share, or send me a private message, and look after yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.